Right, want to know how some of this stuff is turned into a skimboard? Stay tuned and I'll let you know. Okay, for those of you who don't know me, and there will be a lot of people out there who do not, I'm Sam Price. I run OXS Skimboards up here in Omaha, New Zealand. Now what I want to do here is used to provide a whole ton of information for skimboarding here. What I'm starting to do now is going to provide a lot more information about the brand, the skimboards, what they're made of, how they're made, all that sort of stuff, why they're made, why they cost so much. We're going to do all of that. One thing, I've been making some huge changes with the wave boards. Over the course of the last year, I've moved away from what was a pressing method, which had both its pros and cons, to a standard sort of vacuum bagging method, which pretty much, as far as I'm aware, every skimboard company uses around the world. This has brought its own set of pros and cons, but this is definitely what I'm going to be going with from now on. So now when you come to me, I make all the OXS skimboards. I've made all of them in their existence, so I know them like the back of my hands, basically. What I want to give you right now is basically just a rundown on when you come to me for a wave skimboard, which is either the splurge, the crabber, or the splabber model. Now the splabber is pretty rarely seen. It's basically just a combination. All it has is the splurge nose with the crabber tail. So pretty much what I'm going to do right now is basically tell you how I make one of these. Now this one right here is currently available on the online store. It is a medium splurge 20mm carbon for $449 New Zealand. So what makes that so good? What makes it so expensive to a lot of people? Because $450 is a lot of money to a lot of people. So basically what this here is, it's a combination of high density foam. The stuff, I've changed suppliers once again because we're getting some very massively fluctuating prices here in New Zealand. This right here is high density foam, really hard. You basically can't do anything to that. To dent it, you'd need a hammer, which is very different to surfboard foam. It is also very expensive. Comes in flat. I usually just stick with 20mm, which is sort of just over the 3/4 thickness. Taper down on models such as that. I'll taper the nose tail rail to rail, so it loses a bit of that thickness around the edges, making for a more responsive and lighter board. So that is the foam. That's what's inside it. That right here is very expensive. I'm not going to give you detailed full prices, but think not cheap. Then we wrap it. This right here is normal fiberglass, normal e-glass. The e-glass boards comprise of multiple layers of this, top and bottom. Very cheap, very easy to work with. Keeps the board not as strong as carbon, obviously. That's why carbon is known as being such a great material. It's also probably slightly easier to work with than carbon fiber. So that is what goes into an e-glass board. This right here is carbon fiber. So basically what I do to make a carbon fiber board is that we take a layer, top and bottom, out of the e-glass and put it back in with this. Carbon fiber is good. It is not one of those gimmicky materials that sort of people, make out that it's really fantastic when it's really not. It is incredible stuff. It is super strong and it is super stiff. It is not light like most people think. It is not light by comparison, but what makes it light in construction is the fact it is so strong and it is so stiff that you don't need as much of it. So what actually happens with the construction of one of these, there is less total cloth weight throughout the board, therefore making the board lighter and stronger and stiffer. So if it were me, basically every time I would pick a carbon fiber skimboards purely because they are lighter and they are stiffer. That is why I would choose it. Not to say that e-glass is bad. E-glass is still very good, and if you like a sort of bit of flex and maybe a little bit of sort of more of a pop feel in your wave skimboard, I would probably even be inclined to go to e-glass. We could make an e-glass board as strong as the carbon fiber one, but we'd probably need several more layers of fiberglass in that board to achieve the same strength, therefore making it heavier. This is all then coupled with epoxy resin, just straightforward epoxy. Do not use any polyester here. So I screen print the logos myself. That's all done under a layer of fiberglass right here, which I can show you. As you can see right here, this board has just been done today. You can see this still hasn't been trimmed up or nothing. This was done a few hours ago, so it's still a bit tacky to touch, but perfectly more than able to handle. The logos go underneath that, will never come out because they're on a rice paper. They're printed here. just like everything else, I try to do everything, every single part of the board in-house here. If I were to talk prices, as I mentioned earlier, this is very cheap. Normal fiberglass is very cheap. This is very expensive. For the same weight cloth, I believe carbon fiber is just under 10 times the price of this, which gives you an idea of how much we're paying for this, why it's so much more expensive. We're not using 10 times as much of it or nothing like that, but it's that exchange and that layer, that is where the extra cost comes from. Carbon fiber is an absolutely fantastic material though. In those couple boards you've just seen are splurge models. This one here is a crabber. As you can tell, it's more the fish shape, it's slightly more floaty. Marketed as floaty. We've got a wider tail, we've got a wider outline, probably more suited to New Zealand conditions. Again, it's got the same rocker as the splurge. It basically has all the specs are pretty much the same. I used to run 2 rockers, but I've gone back just to 1 rocker. We may see a little evolve change coming up in the future, but probably not for now. Personally, again, it's a lot of the time it's down to personal choice. These shapes and sizes have all sort of been tweaked for New Zealand's conditions. I typically run them just a fraction bit bigger than say the American counterparts, because our waves here are not like full-on powerful things, so they're pretty much tailored for New Zealand conditions. I hope that helps a few of you out there. If there's anything you would like to know, I'm going to detail a lot more skimboarding stuff on this channel as of now. There's going to be things like where the best skim spots are in like Auckland, because that seems to be asked me a lot, and really there's no short answer there because Auckland is not very good for a city surrounded by water. So I hope that helps. I will be detailing more board specs, more basically everything in the coming stages. It is summertime, and hopefully when it stops raining we can all get out there and have some fun. If you would like to buy a board, or you'd like to ask questions or anything like that, you're more than welcome to drop any comments below in this video. You can or email me to sales, S-A-L-E-S, at oxsskimboards.com. You can get along to the online shop, shop.oxsskimboards.com. Basically subscribe to this channel to be kept up to date. Like Facebook, Instagram, we've got all that stuff which will be up on the screen right now. We've got t-shirts for sale, got everything going. So yep. So subscribe for more videos. I'm Sam Price. I will see you at the beach.